sharing the ring with the ring general Gunther in a cage, I know I'm never gonna forget Vienna. This man is a champion for a reason. He represents championship caliber people, hardworking, blue collar, salt of the earth, Vienna pride. Congratulations, champ. I will see you down the line. And now, he's going to sing some folk songs with you people.
En vrijdag nacht wordt DTKC af mijn auto en dan ben ik niet meer. Ik stuur mijn door oder nog zo dat zeg. Maar doet toch niet werken, om zie maar aan leven. Hey. Was passiert auf Fußstellen? Dankeschön!
Dankeschön!
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony. Don Tony.
Hey, oh, not the pod father, the dog father is in the house. It is Sunday night. Was it the 30th? The 30th of March. I want to welcome all of you to the Sit Down. I am Don Tony. I hope everyone is having a great weekend. And for those that can't see, I am a Buer Terrier dad. I know I got to fix the camera angle a little bit, but yeah, my mom bought me, my girl, my wife, she bought me the hat, the shirt, a couple other things. Very cool shirt. It's actually on Amazon before anybody asks. You can get this on Amazon too. So I know how much she paid. But yeah, I've been just basically relaxing the last couple of days. I apologize that we didn't do a show last Sunday. Fact of the matter is, my birthday was Thursday. And I normally don't make a big deal about birthdays, but this year felt a little bit different. Was Kevin's health scare a little part of it? Sure. It kind of reminded me that at any time something could go seriously wrong, especially when we get older. But not only that, you know, with my mom and my dad going through a lot of health issues, I know this sounds really, really weird, but, you know, when I visit them, especially on holidays, you know, I always am hit with this really deep feeling like, is this the last birthday I'm going to spend with them? Is this the last Christmas I'm going to spend with them? Is it not because really of me, but because tomorrow's never guaranteed. And, you know, I don't know how much longer my mom and my dad will be physically around. So I try to make the most of everything. And this year, both my mom wanted to take me out to dinner and my wife wanted to take me out to dinner. So we did Thursday night, the whole family. And my wife said to me last Sunday, she's like, let me take you out to dinner. And I said, well, I normally do a show Sunday night. And she says, you mean to tell me you're going to put your birthday and us through over the show? I know what she was trying to say. She doesn't ever get involved and she doesn't want to put a dent in what we do here. But she made a valid point. You know, I decided to take off last week. I actually took off the last 3 days. The history show went up Friday instead of Thursday, and the news update went up this morning instead of yesterday. So, but I'm back. Yeah, we got to come back. We got a lot of stuff to get into in the world of pro wrestling and beyond, of course. Now, got a little bit of a dilemma that I want to let everybody know right off the bat. And, you know, this is not the official thumbnail preview of the show, but I have been letting everybody know the last week that Kevin and I are going to be live next Sunday night right here on YouTube for a special edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. And we were going to do WrestleMania predictions. Then I started thinking about it today. I said, you know, wouldn't it be better if we did WrestleMania predictions on April 13th? You know, it might be a little too soon to do it on April 6th. So I sent Kev a message earlier today. Haven't heard back from him yet because I know he's not home. And I'm going to see. So pay very close attention to tomorrow's show, this whole week. One of two things are going to happen. Actually, one of three things. Either we're going to go ahead with next Sunday's show and do it as scheduled, or we're going to postpone it to the 13th of April. And the third option is if Kev is not doing anything, maybe we will do next Sunday as just a special DTKC show. And then the following Sunday, Kev returns with me once again, and we do WrestleMania predictions on that episode. So we will clear it up, and by tomorrow, I think we'll know. So you'll have plenty of time in advance notice as far as what Kev and I will do here within the next 2 weeks. So just be on the lookout for that. So I tell you, if Kev is up to it, even if we did a hard 90, I would be fine with him coming here next Sunday and the following Sunday. It really has to do with his health and, his work schedule. So we'll see what happens. Now, this episode is not just about this Hogan bullshit. But I got to tell you, it's no secret. Kevin and I are the longest running wrestling podcasters out there. And I've been doing this since 97. And I've seen everything develop in real time with the personal side of the Hogan family. And the last couple of days have been quite bizarre as far as this family. And the reason why I'm saying that, and I want to just mention this briefly at the beginning, is because when I posted this thumbnail as a teaser for tonight's show, obviously this is not the main topic of conversation, but I figured to do a little spoof on Great American Beer, we change it to Great American Tear. And for those that don't know who that female is, that is Linda Hogan. Yes, the same Linda that filed for divorce 2008, 2007, 2008. Yes, the same Linda who cheated on Hulk Hogan with Charlie Hill, 19 years old, went to school with her daughter Brooke. Not saying that Hulk Hogan didn't cheat either, but yes, the same Linda that wrote a book in 2011, did a whole book tour. And trust me, my friend used to work for, I think, Borden's Books, whatever the name was, and she was there. He's like, you want an autographed book? I said, for what? I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I was like, for what? I'm not going to read it. No, I care. It's kind of like when Bret Hart's ex-wife, remember she was trying to do the podcast circuit? The one that was a little heavy set, and she, really lambasted Triple H. You knew this was going to happen. When she went on like podcasts, she's like, you want to come on? She actually, I think, offered to go on the round table with Kev and Joey 924. And they were like, why? And they might have even actually had her on. But, here's my point. She is so angry about Hulk Hogan after 20 years that she still goes by Linda Hogan. Her website is lindahogan.com. Her social medias are Linda Hogan. For someone that didn't want nothing to do for Hulk Hogan, took 80% of all of his money and stuff when they got divorced. She's worth $20 million right now. She thinks that there's still a possibility that the family could stay together. Are you fucking kidding me? And we're supposed to feel sorry because she's crying? I mean, look, I don't like making fun of anybody who is down in the dumps. But sister, you made your fucking bed. You got to live with your fucking bed. As much as we are angry at Hulk Hogan for his, racist tendencies and very selfishness and even the way he handles politics, even though we have issues and how he lies up a storm, my God, this week I went down the rabbit hole and did a little research about what Linda said about Brooke and Linda said about Hulk and Brooke said about Linda and Brooke's husband. And Hulk Hogan posted pictures of him and his new wife eating popcorn. And I found a funny video just to show you why all of these entertainment websites are the absolute lowest shithole of the shit. They posted an interview with Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan talks about his new wife, Sky. They're not married all that long. And he has the audacity to look at the co-host on E in the face and say, once I met Sky and she really, set me straight, I quit drinking, brother. I quit drinking, brother. Are we in the fucking Twilight Zone when we watch Real American Bullshit Beer? In all of these appearances where he's drunk and he's in the club talking about Kamala Harris and he thinks he's funny. And I don't like her, but he thinks he's funny because he purposely doesn't say her name right. Are we living in and the E-Entertainment? It's like, who's that guy that now is on TMZ? He ain't hype. What was it? Mojo Rawley. Remember we exposed that fraud? Mojo Rawley. He just because he gets a guest on, the guest could look at him and say, I fucked your mother. And then I threw out in the street and be like, oh, this is a good interview. Yeah, I'm getting noticed. Yeah, fuck you. So I see this with Linda and she's crying up a storm. And I go to look to see what is she upset about. And then I see this. Now, before we go any further, before I even show you this 2-minute train wreck, one thing I saw very, very interesting. I know Friday was Lent. I know we're in the Easter season. What's with the black spots on her face? I either think she either put 2 cigarettes out on her face or she went to church to get the ashes on the forehead and either the priest was too short or too drunk and he totally missed. What is that? And not only that, if you're going to go online and cry on video, the first thing I would not be telling everyone was, I was going to go to Botox. If in case you didn't see what was posted this week, here you go.
Okay, so I'm just home by myself today, again, as usual.
Okay. She's home alone today, as usual. Keep that thought.
I'm okay with most things, but today something hit. I don't know what hit, but I look terrible because I've been crying.
You look terrible because you didn't put your fucking makeup on and you decided, let me put a camera on. If you wouldn't have recorded yourself, we wouldn't have saw it. You look terrible.
And yesterday I went to try to go have Botox and shit, and they bruised me I don't know.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
It's been 15 or longer years since I got left Hulk Hogan, and my family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us. She's had twins. She got married. She didn't tell us. She had twins. She didn't tell us. She had a huge fight with Terry.
By the way, that fight with Terry was years and years and years ago. Brooke Hogan hasn't talked to her mother in ages. I'm going to show everybody something you'll find very interesting in a moment. Just continue listening.
I don't know how that reflected onto me, but she cut me out too. I haven't talked to her for 7 years, almost 8 years now. And God bless Nick. He's still such a good boy. I've never put a Facebook post out like this with my ugly face and my crying face, but I have to be honest about what I went through in my marriage with Terry as Hulk Hogan. And
you wrote a fucking book and made millions off of it. You already told us. Why is this video being done?
And what it entailed and what it has caused over the years and everything else. He's a complete liar. He is a sex addict. Your face out there and know that all these horrible things are going on behind the scenes. Yet he marches on. He marches on like, yeah, oh, I'm promoting my own beer, real American beer. Yeah, look at me. Woo! Yeah, he's such a hero, right? Not.
Let me show everybody something. This is Linda Hogan's social media page promoting Hulk Hogan, Netflix, and Real American Beer. This whole family is a complete fuck up. I think Brooke is trying really hard to normalize her life. And I know Nick has had his demons and he is really working hard to improve his life. And it's probably, listen, make no mistake about it. It's got to be really difficult to be the son or daughter of a celebrity and be put out there like that. I mean, what choice do you really have? So I kind of have a little bit of sympathy on Nick. And yes, listen, we know the awful tragedies with John Graziano and, you know, a couple other tragedies that were, you know, avoided. But still, I don't understand what this woman is doing. But listen to this last few seconds, because it really just makes this completely bizarre.
Okay, I'm going to give you my thumbs down. I've given him more opportunities to come back and make us a family and try to, I'm sorry, it's so sad. And it's been 20 years and I'm still this sad.
He's fucking married 2 times since you divorced him. He don't want nothing to do with you no more. You fucking left him for a 19-year-old who sued you 4 years into your relationship. And by the way, when you won that lawsuit against your ex-boyfriend, Charlie, you actually took $49,000 from him, which he did not have. And I have no sympathy for Charlie Hill. But this woman getting millions of dollars, fights it in court, the charges are dropped, and she goes after her ex-boyfriend for $49,000. And he had to agree never to talk about the relationship. This is a whack job. This is cuckoo. That's it. You're 70. You ain't getting no 19. Oh, and by the way, she bought a yacht. What did she name the yacht? Alimony.
Somebody please explain that.
Yeah, we just explained it. I'm not trying to be cruel here. I'm not trying to be cruel. But after everything that we saw, I mean, even her appearance on fucking Match Game was bullshit. Like they had to, you don't know, like Linda Hogan, I think, was on like 1 or 2 game shows back in the 70s. And she was playing off that she was just some, you know, woman looking for a student and this and that. And they were looking for models and this. To me, this is a woman, and I say this sincerely, and it was very annoying to cover this shit for 17 years. Kevin and I covered this for more than 17 years. But all I know is that she filed for divorce. She wrote a book. She got almost everything that he owned at that time. She lived the life. She still is worth $20 million, and she's alone. And she actually wants Hulk Hogan. As much as we don't like Hulk Hogan, he is now married 2 times since they split up. What's this get back together shit? Oh.
Okay, so I'm just
All right.
home.
I'm not going to let you hear the whole thing again. I wanted you to hear the last couple of seconds Because remember when I said earlier that she's home alone again? Listen to this. Listen to this.
And it's been 20 years and I'm still this sad. Somebody please explain that. I don't know. It just doesn't get better. I do love living alone. I don't ever want to be married again after him. Trust me. But,
listen, I feel bad for her, but I don't feel bad for her. She made that bed, and now she's a 70-year-old, heavy-set, woman that has done a lot of Botox and a lot of stuff, and she can no longer buy her way onto a game show, buy her way onto a reality show, buy her way into a book, buy her way into sweeping, that's it. That's it. You now are forced to live the boring life that many of us have to do. She lost her family. She hasn't talked to Brooke in 7 years. And there's a reason behind that. And the worst part about this is Brooke. Now, we can't play Brooke's video. I tried to test it on YouTube, and I got hit with copyrights up my ass. So Brooke, very, very smart. She's making sure that video doesn't pop up on YouTube elsewhere. But Brooke Hogan's response to this, she went through years of mental and physical abuse being brought up. Now, Brooke is a little bit slick. She doesn't specify which person, and I'll tell you why she didn't. Because Brooke is afraid that she will be sued by her own family members. So she leaves it vague. She doesn't say Hulk, and she doesn't say Linda. But most people that are in the know that are talking about this, and you got to go on their Facebook pages because that's where most of these conversations are taking place. And if you don't know where to look, you could start with Linda and see family members and close friends, and then you go on their pages and you got other family members, and eventually you'll see some people that don't have their profiles private, and you could see some conversations. But most people believe that Linda was the one who disciplined Brooke. And I don't know that for a fact, but Brooke comes out and she says all this stuff. Hulk Hogan posts a picture of him and his new wife eating popcorn. Like that meme, that animated picture of, Big E eating the popcorn. Everybody always puts that up when a scandal comes out. And Brooke Hogan's husband goes after Hulk. And he's like, what the fuck is that? So listen, this whole family was a hot mess when Hogan's Knows Best came around. It's been a hot mess ever since. I give credit to Brooke trying to normalize her life. I give credit to Nick, who is battling demons. I still don't like the guy, but he's, from everybody that knows him, that talks publicly, says he truly is trying to keep his life straight on the arrow. I have no sympathy for this. And listen, no one ever wants to see someone in pain like that. But still, you made yourself a public person. And she's depressed. And what does she do? She takes her hair and mixes it up and puts marks on her face, no attempt to cover up. And she also made an accusation that Brooke Hogan broke her collarbone recently. You haven't talked to your daughter in 7 years, but she somehow broke your collarbone. What did she do? Yell on the phone, "Don't fucking call me, you bitch." And what'd you do? Fall and break your collarbone and you're blaming it on her? These some voodoo magic? These people are just liars. Linda is a liar. Hulk is a liar. You got to go seek out the video that Hulk Hogan did with Entertainment Tonight on how Sky got him to stop drinking. And then you look at the Real American Beer appearances and, it's just seriously. The quicker, I know this sounds kind of awful, but the quicker they just get older and just move to like a retirement home, like in a living assisted facility where they don't have webcams and, you can't have your camera phones, the better it is. Because, and the funny thing is that we're right around WrestleMania season. And WWE is doing hard to repair Hulk Hogan's image. Right now, they're doing it through YouTube. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. Through YouTube, they're putting up a lot of WCW, and Hulk Hogan is usually featured on the thumbnails. They're putting up vintage WWE pay-per-views. They're putting up vintage show. Not saying Hogan is on every single one of them, but Hogan is fucking plastered everywhere. That's WWE intentionally trying to repair his image by not having to say anything. They just put on YouTube, and younger fans will see back in the day, he was super over. Oh, yeah, and blah, 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 blah. That's what they're doing. That's the first step. But, this is just, I hate having to talk about this, but these are fucking train wrecks, man. These are absolute train wrecks, and I have no sympathy for that woman. What that woman got 18 years ago, good for her, man. We were actually happy that she got that much from Hulk. But, she's the one that filed for divorce. She's the one that dated Brooke's friend in school. She's the one that bought a yacht called Alimony. She's the one that wrote a book in 2011, 3-4 years later, and fucking made millions off of it. She's the one that sued her own ex-boyfriend. She's the one that's been in total control. She's not in control anymore. She lost a lot of her friends. She lost a lot of her family. And she thinks putting on no makeup and crying, and so her cheeks look like fucking peaches, and have these weird dots on her face. Botox, they fucked me up. What did they do? Hit you with a stun gun? Is that what Botox does? Hey. God, can we please move on? Please, can we move on? No more for that. I'm going to replay this later and just focus on the chat room just to see your reaction. Linder is a liar. Yes, see, I'm from New York, so Linder is spelled Linder. Linder. By the way, shout out to everybody who remembered the DJ place I was talking about 2 weeks ago. The old record store I used to go to was Numbers Records and Tapes on Fresh Pond Road in Ridgewood, Queens. So props to everybody who brought that up to me. It's very, very cool. And thank you to everyone who corrected me. Some of you DM me some emails, some late messages. When I said 2 weeks ago that Delirious used to always tell me how he used to diving off top rope and I caught him, it wasn't Delirious, it was Deranged. I knew the names were similar, but I did say it was Teddy Hart's former best friend. So I don't think Delirious was ever a best friend of Teddy Hart. It was Deranged. So, all right, let's talk a little bit of wrestling. Are you yet figuring out what Kevin and I talked about 3 weeks ago? Yes, I know we don't tweet about it and we don't put it in synopsises, but man, the last 48 hours got a lot of response. Randy Orton going to be that third man? I think so. Contrary to Eric Bischoff, and I'm sorry for bringing this up a third time, not on the shows, but we did it on the news shows. Way back when Dave Meltzer, the urban legend is that Dave Meltzer in his newsletter said that Mabel was rumored to be the third man of the NWO, not Hulk Hogan, but Mabel. Now, that's urban legend, whatever. So last week, Eric Bischoff does his podcast, and Conrad's like, who could be the third man? And Eric's like, I got a really cool idea. Who could be the third man? And who does he come up with? Becky Lynch. God, I wonder if there was any what would we call it? What do they put in meat to like sterilize it? Narcotics or whatever it is, hormones. They must have put some funny stuff in his meat on his carnivore diet. Becky Lynch should be the third person. You just imagine that. Becky Lynch comes out, kicks Cody Rhodes in the nuts, and Becky Lynch, she's the third person. Kevin and I said Randy Orton 3 weeks ago. And you look at the history of the WWE, the three biggest names that go back 20 years, John Cena, Randy Orton, The Rock, that are still active, so to speak, even though The Rock is not really active, but you know what I mean. On SmackDown Friday, when Randy Orton suddenly gushed over Cody Rhodes, hasn't done it for the entire year, but now does it now. Oof. Randy's going to fucking be the last person this is how I would do it. Not saying it's going to happen this way. This is how I would do it. And I think we're right. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens absolutely has to be night one. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens has to be night one of WrestleMania. This way you forget about Randy Orton for the rest of WrestleMania. Night two, you don't expect them to come out. Everybody else comes out. Everybody else comes out. And the last person to come out is Randy Orton. And Randy Orton fucking kicks Cody in the nuts or hits him with an RKO. And John Cena wins the title. And we go off the air, not with Travis Scott, but we go off the air with Randy Orton, The Rock, and John Cena in that ring. And this sets up the feud of Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes leading into SummerSlam. No belts on the line. So Cody can eat a couple of losses and not have to worry about dropping the title. And then towards the end of the year, you could have something happen where Randy Orton maybe has a falling out with John Cena. Or vice versa. Randy Orton could possibly be a heel going out of 2025. But that's what I would do. Have Randy Orton and Kevin Owens night one. And then listen, if you tuned into the DTKC show, we talked about this 3 weeks ago. But I loved what I saw on Friday SmackDown because it really feels like they're going in that direction. And get Randy Orton and Kevin Owens out of everybody's minds leading into that Sunday. I will say this, props to all of you who are bringing to my attention, we talked about those WrestleMania After Dark parties that WWE is doing in Vegas. And the last 2 nights, they have parties going on, and they have Jey Uso and Tiffany Stratton as 2 of the guests. And most people think that Jey Uso ain't fucking showing up at one of those parties as the loser in that World Championship match against Gunther. So a lot of people think that those after parties are celebrations for winners. I really do believe Jey Uso will win that championship, but he ain't closing out night one, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't. A couple of weeks ago, felt a little bit different, but it's pretty obvious Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins closes out night one. The only question is, what's the favor? What's the favor? I'm almost tempted for us to do a contest next week. Let everybody predict the favor during the live chat. Somebody wins something big from Kev and I got to talk to Kev about it. But, some people that I talk to, just casual wrestling fans, they think that somehow CM Punk is going to be able to get Paul Heyman to get himself in a championship title match. And I just don't see how that's possible because I could just picture Paul Heyman in his the way he does his antics. If CM Punk said to Paul Heyman, all right, my favor is I want you to get me added to that championship match with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. I can see Paul Heyman go, but I don't have that power. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that. Even though a lot of people think that it's going that way. So we'll see. That's my impersonation of Paul Heyman. I could sound exactly like him if I want to, but I never tried to visually look like him. But all right. Let's go to you, the people, our friends, the Castle Comrades, the Donzilla Army. Much love to all of you. By the way, programming note, Raw starts Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Kevin and I will be live at 10 p.m. Eastern. We are not going to do it earlier in the day because everybody and their great-grandmother are going to be doing podcasts. Kevin and I will do it around 10 o'clock, and we will have some easy listening, a lot of fun, dtkcdiscord.com if you want to join us. 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Okie dokie. Before we head over to the chat room, got a couple of super shout-outs that it's only fair that we acknowledge them. Get into some questions. Police Squad with a 10 spot. Do I think TNA made a mistake in firing Gail Kim and should AEW sign her? In my honest opinion, and I kind of touched on this on last week's news update, TNA, Anthem, Impact, they don't owe any employee anything. Gail Kim has been there almost 20 years. Gail Kim has done an insane amount of good for TNA. But no one should think that their job is forever. Scott D'Amore, I've said this many times. I think Scott D'Amore is a wonderful man. Scott D'Amore is so well liked and such a professional and committed in doing right. But let's be honest, if you look at Impact Wrestling for the last 10 years, the growth has been weak. And I'm sure it's not his fault, but a lot of times in baseball, managers get fired and it's not necessarily their fault, but somebody has to pay the price. And with all due respect, since Scott D'Amore has been gone, Impact Wrestling is now doing this Forbidden Door with NXT. Could have happened anyway, but Anthem wants their own people in there. They're like, look, 10 years, we're not getting the growth. Look at where we at. We're in purgatory. We're still like a far number 3. And sometimes you got to shake things up. I hear nothing but amazing things about Gail Kim. But that doesn't mean that she warrants a lifelong career until she's 65 years old in TNA and Anthem. It's time for a change. And the women's division is great, but the women's division is nowhere near NXT levels. And the women's division might be somewhat better than AEW, but that's because of AEW Creative. It's like, all right, you're like, what do you got? You got Masha Slamovic and Tessa Blanchard and, a few other big names, but not on the level that Gail Kim is needed. So as much as I think she's great, I don't think TNA made a mistake at all. She's very well liked and she's very popular, but you don't keep somebody on the payroll, and Lord knows how much money she's making. I can't help but to think that she's got to be making more than someone else who might be just coming in a couple of years in that's a little hungry. She'll do fine. But I don't know if I think AEW, absolutely, I would say bring her in. But I don't know if Gail Kim should go to AEW. Didn't they bring in Madison Rayne to help the women's division? And even though you might say, well, the women's division seems a lot better than what it was a year ago. Look at Toni Storm. Look at Mariah May. Look at Mercedes Moné starting to click in. Look at Megan Bayne. But is that to the credit of Madison Rayne? Is that to the credit of Jennifer Pepperman? Those women are uber talented, even if Krusty the Clown was the women's trainer there. I don't know if Madison Rayne really had that much of a play into it. And I don't know how much creative freedom Gail Kim would have in AEW. So if I'm AEW, I would take Gail Kim. But, Gail Kim is older now. Gail Kim is not going to be wrestling on a full-time schedule, even a part-time schedule. And I don't know if that would be a good mix, because I think Gail Kim would be placed on a lot of limitations. And remember, this is Tony Khan's playground. This is Tony Khan's summer camp. This is what it is. And if Tony Khan is not looking for the women's division to be the greatest women's division in wrestling, then really, why do you need Gail Kim? That's my honest opinion. Speaking of AEW, Steve Joseph says Kamille is not back on AEW yet. If she's not back on AEW television by Dynasty or that Dynamite after Dynasty, just let her go. Just let her go. You got Queen of the Ring out, and you have various people making appearances, and it just looks so ridiculously bad that they cannot figure out how to get Kamille back on TV. I know the summer fantasy is Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. That's the match that people want to see down the line. But you got to bring Kamille back in this mix. I am blown away that she is not back on TV. We said the Wyatt Six was the biggest disappointment of 2024. I think Kamille listen, let's put it this way. If we were doing Pro Wrestling Illustrated's year, Kamille would top that, because they go from like August to August. Kamille hasn't been on TV since Halloween. Halloween. Why? Why is that? And it's amazing when you think of Kamille in NWA and you look at this. It's confusing. Steve also says John Cena's been washed up for years now. Yeah, he's been washed up for years, but, if you're, listen, WWE's been very, very strategic here. John Cena wrestled Elimination Chamber. Now we have nothing in the ring until WrestleMania. I don't even know if John Cena's going to take his fucking hat off and reveal if he's got the Chrome Dome still or not. John Cena ain't wrestling as much. See, when they announced that John Cena was going to make all these appearances in 2025, many people were using like 10 as the over and under as far as, matches he has. Some people even were higher than that. I'm like, I don't even know if if he's going to have 6 or 7. So John Cena, and listen, when you're a heel, you slow down the pace. You're more methodical. And John Cena's arsenal, even when he was a babyface, was kind of bland because that's what was needed. You look at Hulk Hogan wrestling in Japan and you look at Hulk Hogan in the United States, it's two totally different people. Hulk Hogan did not need to wrestle the Japanese style in the United States to get over. Hulk Hogan was massively over with his, simple arsenal. So the same thing with John Cena. So John Cena, I still think he's got enough. And I truly believe if John Cena didn't think he had enough to pull this off, I don't think they would be doing this retirement tour and putting him in this spot. Because they could have simply done nostalgia, simply done feel-good moments, and people would have been just as fine with him going out that way. Even if he put over some young talent on the way out too. So, let's see, just keeping it on the wrestling topic because I see a few non-wrestling comments. Nick Cardocha, Hulk, that's the wall, brother. A Hall of Fame immortal moment. I like the immortal moment idea, and I don't like it. I like it because it's a masterpiece, Brett versus Steve Austin, but that's storytelling. That was storytelling at its finest. WWE, you have to start incorporating the storytelling, and some matches, like you could see it, TLC will be an iconic moment down the line. There's a couple of matches, Hell in a Cell, Foley going off the cage, that'll be an iconic moment of all time. But, how many times have we celebrated these matches? And plus, you're only going to do one fucking match a year? Just think about it. 5 years from now, we're only going to have 5 matches in there. Like, really, what do you possibly put in other than the usual suspects? It's going to, after a few, it's going to be like, you start really watering down some of those moments. I like the idea, but I don't like the idea. I would have put in maybe a couple of matches. This way you build up a nice little catalog, and then maybe even 5 years you come out with a special, the iconic moments, and you just highlight just those matches. But Hulk Hogan will be on the immortal list. I think him versus Sheik will be an iconic moment. It has to be, whether you like him or not. Havili is asking, why doesn't WWE have WrestleMania in March anymore? No rush, because you have the Royal Rumble usually end of January. Why have the road to WrestleMania for the 6 weeks when you could have it 10 weeks and it feels bigger? You look at what's going on overseas right now in Austria, in Brussels, in Italy, in England, and other countries. You have that road to WrestleMania going 10 weeks instead of 6. That is a lot more money to be made. And you could take your time with some stories. In some ways, it works great. In some ways, it doesn't. A lot of people feel underwhelmed about Punk, Rollins, and Reigns right now. And that's because of how this came together the last 2-3 weeks. And now, it's got to really get amped up a notch. Some people are getting a little bit disappointed with Cena and Cody, because tomorrow on Raw, they're probably going to do a similar thing. And Rock is not going to make an appearance until they're back in the States, far as I know. So now, you go to next Monday's Raw, and now you're only 2 weeks away. And it's like you're kind of rushing things. I think what they've done with Jade Cargill and Naomi is sucked and sucked bad. So, there's some people that I think Gunther and Jey Uso has been done very well. But, there's not many where 10 weeks has helped some of the feuds, in my honest opinion, leading into it. Roger Rubio, thank you very much, my friend. Sent over a little bit of coffee. I will absolutely get myself a coffee tomorrow. Much love. He's hanging out at work, making the money. So shout out to you, Roger. Steve Joseph thinks that Elon Musk ruined the country. I don't like Elon Musk, but I absolutely love that someone who has made so much money that he don't need anybody else's money is going in there and figuring out the fraud. Personally, I don't like the idea that we have to pay all of these taxes and then we find out that 150 people over the age of 150 are getting Social Security checks. What I want to see happen is I want to see people thrown in jail. I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. I don't care if it's my neighbor. I want to see people put in jail. If I steal $100 from you, if I rip off $1,000 from the IRS, we're all going to prison. How are people getting millions and billions of dollars and nobody's going to prison? So I want to see people go to jail for committing fraud. And then if we could cut down our debt a little bit, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I don't like Elon Musk, but I always have this conversation with customers of mine, and I say the same question to them I say to you now. If it wasn't Elon Musk doing this, who would you have do it? I don't trust Republicans. I don't trust Democrats. Neither were able to get this shit in check. Neither even knew that this shit was going on, as far as we know. So who else to expose this stuff? It's someone who doesn't need any more money. It doesn't give a shit. I think he thinks he's making history, that he's going to be an iconic person for exposing trillions of dollars of fraud. That's how I look at it. Like I said, all right, excuse me, douche. All right, excuse me. Not people over the age of 150, people over the age of 100. There's a lot of people getting checks still. All right. Don't tell me that they're not because you haven't seen it and I haven't seen it. I don't think you go public and you mention things like that without having some type of proof. So, like I said, I want to see people go to jail. Whoever is using our taxpayer money for fraud, they should go to jail. That's how I look at it. Steve Joseph says Donald Trump wants to be wants a third term. Is he serious? No, he ain't getting a third term. I don't want to see 80-something-year-old Trump as a third term. Let's see what he does in 4 years. And then 3.5 years from now, we'll figure out who should be next. I still cannot believe that our country, the best that we can offer was Joe Biden, then Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump as our presidential nominees. You have 4 fucking years to figure this out. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I just want to see our country get cheaper. I'm kind of tired of spending, excess amount of money for gas and food and utilities and this and that and this. Even in New York City, I have customers of mine who work in New York City and they're paying this, tax, $9 extra toll because they're traveling in certain areas of the city and they say they're going to use that money to fix roads. That money ain't going to fix roads. That money's going to go somewhere else. I don't care about paying taxes. I want to know where my money is going. I want to know who's being helped. And with all due respect, I'm kind of annoyed to see people in North Carolina, see people in Florida, see people in Louisiana, see people in other areas whose lives were destroyed because of natural disasters, and they're being offered a check of like $700. And then you see overseas, people are getting crazy amounts of money. And I have even people who called me in my insurance office for car insurance quotes who are illegal immigrants, who 2 people even told me how much they were getting. They're getting more money than what people were getting because their houses were destroyed. And you know why that's true? Because those people were getting a one-time check for $750. These people up until last year We're getting money every single month. EBT cards every single month being recharged. Cell phone, living in a hotel, this and that. I'm not saying to keep people out on the street, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we got to worry about, you know, our bills. And it's nice to see all this fraud being exposed. Anybody that's angry that this fraud is being exposed, it's a little weird, my honest opinion. It'll be fun if Republicans get exposed. Then suddenly you'll see some people be like, yeah, go Elon. All right. Christopher's asking my thoughts on the missing girl in Dominican Republic. It's sad. It's sad. Dominican Republic is not the safest place to go to. For those that don't know the story, a girl went on spring break with like 4 or 5 of her friends and she disappeared. And they investigated all the people that were spotted with her. In fact, some guy that everybody put the blame on him, he did it. They don't even know what he did or where she is. But unfortunately, though, could have been Dominican Republic. It could have been Queens, New York. You know, unfortunately, tragedy happens and crime happens. Just because somebody goes on spring break, just imagine going into like one of these neighborhoods in the United States that has a lot of gang members, just MS-13. And some girl goes in that neighborhood and MS-13 goes up to her, hey, baby, you come with us. No, I'm here on spring break. Oh, okay. Enjoy the rest of your trip. It's a tragedy, but unfortunately, there's crime everywhere. So it's not the safest place to go to, believe me. Let me tell you something. You know, I've told this story before. When I went to St. Francis Prep High School, and on my junior year, we had a couple of choices to go for vacation. And I put Dominican Republic and Mexico in the same category. Even though I know Dominican Republic, there's more like resorts and everything. But me and my friends, we wanted to go to Mexico. I ended up going to Italy, had a ball. But we were going to go to Mexico. And what was the number one reason why me and my friends wanted to go to Mexico in junior year of high school for a trip? Because we heard that when you get off the plane, there's like loads and loads of prostitutes for like $5. You can get like the hottest of the hot of prostitutes. Now, look, we're 17 years old at the time. So think 17 years old in the 80s, we're like, oh my God, I could bring $50 and I could have girls feeding me grapes. And this is amazing. Because we unfortunately didn't get that, you know, in New York. So that was the first reason why we were going to go. And then we realized, we're going to go to Italy. You know, my parents were not going to pay for me to go on a trip to Mexico. So, yeah. So, all right. Let's squiggle over to the chat room. I'm just checking to see if there was any. Oh, actually, I do have one more. One more. Steve is asking, Jey Uso not main eventing WrestleMania, my thoughts. I don't want it to be the first match of the night, but I'm glad it's not the final match. And the reason why I say this, it's similar to what I said with Kev about 2 weeks ago. You're going to get that iconic moment. Whether you like Jey Uso or not, get used to it. 5-10 years from now, they're going to show that arena, 70,000 people doing yeet, whatever they fucking do with their arms. It's funny to watch like the disabled and 75-year-olds going like, it's almost like the Michael Jackson Thriller music video. They're like trying to like do it. And it's going to be an iconic moment. You don't need it to close out WrestleMania for that moment. You know, Daniel Bryan was different. Kofi was different. You know, you just went off the air with that really, really special feeling inside. Jey Uso will be a fun moment. I'm not rooting against him. But it doesn't need to close out WrestleMania night 1 to be, you know, the be-all, end-all. And even if Kofi or Daniel Bryan did not close out a WrestleMania, even if they were halfway through, still, when you went off the air, I remember the feeling. Kofi obviously was different, you know, because, you know, of the underdog and being black and, you know, just everything that went down at that time. Still remember Shad Gaspard and MVP in the bar, looking at each other and crying. You know, just seeing a whole bunch of real hardcore emotion, even by regular wrestling fans. You know, that's, no matter where that was on the card, you were going to go off the air feeling it. Really, you're like grabbing your strings. Daniel Bryan, too. Daniel Bryan was, you know, arguably the first time that WWE was literally forced to do an audible. I mean, forced to the point. I mean, they knew that by changing it, you know, we're giving, see, WWE Universe, we're giving you what you want, you see. It's kind of like when Brock Lesnar destroyed John Cena at SummerSlam. You see, John Cena can get his, we'll give you what you want. He'll get his ass kicked. But Jey Uso, it's going to be a fun, iconic moment. But it's not that moment where you go off the air and you're like, oh, Jey Uso, he won the championship. Like Rikishi will cry. And Jey Uso will cry. And I'm sure all the members of his family will cry. And rightfully so. But I'm not going to cry. I mean, the only people who are going to be crying is going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Stop. No more eating. My arms hurt. I'm eating up my ass. I promise you this. Jey Uso beats Gunther. I'll be home, smiling, happy. But I will not be home in front of my TV going, yeet, yeet, yeet. The only way I'm going to do this, should I? Can I be nasty for a minute? Let's pretend this is my girl's head. I'd be like, eat this. No, I don't do that. Revealing a little bit too much, but I don't do that. Yeah, Jeff Hardy, you know, that was a little bit special, but Jeff Hardy still had his problems and it was documented. You know, it did, you know, you can't predict emotion like that. You know, at the end of the day, these people are doing their job, but sometimes it just feels a little bit more important than just that. You know, it's just a little bit more important. And then we got to see, you know, if I still am convinced Sami Zayn will not have a match at WrestleMania. I think Sami Zayn will basically take over from Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn will snap it out of Jay, and Sami is going to help Jay, similar to what Chad Gable did for Sami Zayn. We're going to have an entourage. You might have Jimmy Uso. You might have Sami Zayn. You might have Sexy Red. You're going to have an entourage of people walking Jey Uso down to the ring. Might even feel like a little bit of a boxing match. And I think that's where they're going with this. And I want to see Jey Uso feud with Sami Zayn. Sami does not have to be a heel, but I want to see Sami and Jey SummerSlam for the championship. Yeah, Kevin says, don't give my wife a yeet infection. I got to put that sound effect in the mixer. That deserved one. I don't think I do have. I don't have that. Oh, I can do this. He said yeet. He said yeet. Michael Gonzalez, thoughts on the Yankees using the torpedo bats against the Brewers? The bats are not illegal. So what? You know, I heard they hit, 15 home runs in their first 3 games? If those bats are legal, everybody is going to be using those bats. I hear the allegations. I hear what some people are trying to do, a conspiracy theory. I honestly don't think the Yankees would do anything illegal on any level, especially opening day. You know, they're too good. And listen, I'm a Met fan at heart. I root for the Yankees if they're the only New York team in the playoffs. But yeah, not everybody uses one. But hey, if it's illegal, if it's not illegal, if it's a legal bat, fine. Roderick says, given the debacle that's been the Death Riders, was it the right call for Swerve to lose to Danielson? He could have lost to Hangman instead, and we get different title feuds, no Death Riders. Listen, I still remember the night, and listen, I obviously can't do research when we're doing live shows, but I still remember the night that NXT went head-to-head on Tuesday night with Dynamite. And if I remember correctly, they did a number one contenders match, and I think it was Swerve versus Danielson. And they went with Danielson that night. And even at that time, I felt, Jesus, you got some natural momentum really, really building with Swerve. And they still did not do it. And I thought that was a big blunder. And that was way before that. Listen, the Death Riders storyline has been awful. Funny thing is, Kevin and I are going to talk about this tomorrow. We're going to talk about Rob Van Dam coming out and saying that, he didn't like the spot, unnecessary, little uncomfortable. And people are calling him a hypocrite because he worked in ECW. And without getting too deep tonight, Rob Van Dam said something that I had totally forgot about. And I was a rabid ECW fan. I even had the privilege to work for them for the final year they were in existence. When he said it, I was like, holy fucking shit, I totally forgot about that. Rob Van Dam never bladed when he was in ECW. Rob Van Dam had moments that he did get hit with weapons, no question about it. He used to use the chair with the Van Daminator, even a Van Terminator. But Rob Van Dam was not a hardcore wrestler. He incorporated elements of it because he was in ECW. But the Death Riders, the interesting thing about it is, and this is something I think that people don't talk enough about, and this is how I truly feel. I didn't like the spot. If it was a pay-per-view and they would have promoted that Edge and John Moxley are going to have a street fight and really pushing that this is going to be, like they're going to have violence like we haven't seen, how they promote how they do. On regular television, even though it was a street fight, I think that was overkill. And it wasn't an accident. Sometimes accidents happen. People were comparing it to Sabu of Born to Be Wired. That was an accident. When Sabu jumped and, hit the corner and had the barbed wire slash his bicep, that was not planned. He wasn't saying to Terry, all right, you move out of the way and I'm going to slice my bicep open in the corner. Then we're going to crazy glue and it's going to look cool. That was an accident. If you compare it to anything, I saw it firsthand. When Terry Funk intentionally cut his bicep open with XPW Hostile Takeover. If anybody goes on YouTube and seeks out that match, and I have the original raw footage, and it's crystal clear condition. I don't know if I can put it on here, even though XPW really is not around anymore, not the original, even though Rob Black still owns it. I don't know if I would get in trouble for it, but I have the original raw footage. When Terry Funk walked back in like this, holding his arm, and I'm sitting at the timekeeper's table, and I looked over, and you could actually see my face going like this. Is the most grotesque thing that I have ever seen live and in person. You actually could see like almost his bone. It was worse than what Sabu did. And what was even worse about it is, I remember this clearly. After the match was over, there was controversy because Terry Funk pulled down Lizzie Borden's panties. Yes, he did. But I still remember this clear as day. After the match was over and we were all in the back of the ECW arena, I remember Shane Douglas screaming and cursing and throwing things. Terry Funk was being put in an ambulance and Shane Douglas was cursing. Not that he was mad at how the match happened or, he was mad like, Terry, why? He did it to himself. It wasn't, I'm sure he wasn't planning on it being that deep, but Terry Funk breaks a bottle outside the ECW arena and does this. And then he looks down, he's like, oh shit. It was an accident, but it wasn't. He fucking cut himself, but he went too deep because adrenaline kicks in. This was unnecessary. It was a planned spot. And honestly, I'm just as mad at Edge than I am with Moxley. Because when Edge jumped off the cage and broke his leg, I should have thought better. I just can't picture with a straight face them having a meeting in the back and Mox is like, all right, we're going to put your bat in the center of the ring, and you're going to suplex me, and I'm going to have it stick in my back and impaled. And then we're going to, and I just can't believe, Adam Copeland after that. Yeah, great idea. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You sure you want to do it? Let's do it. So the Death Riders has been awful. It's been awful. And what I was getting to before, and I'm glad I didn't say it right away, is there's people out there in AEW that are trying to push this narrative that even if you don't like Jon Moxley, look at what he puts his body through for our entertainment. Because that's what they used to say about Mick Foley. Mick Foley does elbow drops onto the concrete floor and does crazy hardcore for our entertainment. Moxley doesn't need to do this, but he does it for that one extra mile for the fans. And to those people out there that are trying to push that narrative, I don't give a flying fuck. I don't give a flying fuck that Jon Moxley is doing this because he cares so much about AEW. Stupid. And what I'm worried about is I think about Hangman Page and Swerve in that cage and the stupid spot with the syringe. And I'm like, okay, now you're going to get Moxley and you're going to get Swerve. And I don't even think I want to see that match because you start feeling you got to top what you did before. And how are you going to top that? Like, really, what are you going to do? It's unnecessary, in my honest opinion. I think Swerve has a very good chance of beating Moxley at Dynasty. People are tired of Moxley being champion. Everything about it. The funny thing is, I was thinking back the Shield days, and believe it or not, this coming week, for those who want a little sneak peek, this coming week is the anniversary of Moxley left WWE. And I was researching the last night. I have the off Raw footage of Moxley in Brooklyn paying tribute to the fans, leaving WWE. Very, very cool stuff. I even found a funny interview. We're not supposed to bring this up, but Roman Reigns did an interview, and Roman Reigns said that he would give Jon Moxley a bottle of Jack Daniels every single day so he could stay in WWE. Comments didn't age all that well. But, the thing is that back then, I liked Moxley, but here it just feels like in 2025, it feels like he was, all right, this is the best way I could put it. You get somebody in jail. You could even use Shawshank Redemption. Use Shawshank Redemption as an example. If you want to go even deeper, you could use any criminal. And they go to jail. And they're in jail for X amount of years. And then when they get out of jail and try to have a straight, decent life, they can't cut it. Even though they're making money, even though they got a job, even though they got a roof over their head, and even though the bills are being paid, just something about prison. And they end up fucking up and they go back to prison. Or they just, because they can't handle normalcy. That's the way I feel about Jon Moxley. And I'm dead serious. I'm not saying it to be funny. I'm not saying it to be controversial or a jerk. That's how I feel about Moxley. When Moxley was doing CZW hardcore violence, that's his norm. There's an adrenaline rush involved. Trust me. A lot of you seen my wrestle crap of me going through a table laying on thumbtacks. I didn't get slammed onto thumbtacks. There was about 500 thumbtacks on a table, and I was placed on the table without a shirt on, laying on the thumbtacks, waiting for somebody to splash me through it. It fucking hurt. There's pictures of me with thumbtacks in my head, in my ears, and my fingers. I loved every minute of it. Why? There was just some adrenaline rush, and I knew everybody was going nuts at ringside. It felt good. This guy, it's times a million. So this guy needs this weird adrenaline chemical reaction to these outrageous, violent spots. That's why some people love hardcore wrestling. And I'm talking about the wrestlers themselves. Not everybody's a Mick Foley that says, it was the only way I was going to be successful. It was the only way I was going to make money. It was the only way I was going to be relevant in wrestling. Some people fucking love to do it. And some people, just get a crazy rush over it. That's how I look at Moxley. When he went to WWE, it was like getting out of prison, and it just never felt right. And he couldn't wait to get back into prison so he can basically live that life. That's how I look at Moxley in AEW. Only a moron would tell people publicly that his body feels like a 70-year-old and then does this shit. You know why you tell everyone that doctors told you your body is a 70-year-old? So people feel, you see, he's got the pain of a 70-year-old and he's still doing this. Moxley thinks he's a hardcore hero. I think he's an idiot. I give him credit for working hard, and I still can't get past his promos. You ever watch him cut a promo in the ring and he's looking at the camera? Please do this once for me. Take the audio, turn it to 0. Just watch his face. He does this weird thing where he puffs his lips. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he'll be like, take a shot every time he puffs his lips up like that. You'll see it. If you turn the audio down, you'll see it every time. I'm not a fan of his. All right. DeMarcus with a 5 spot. I will get to yours in a second. Let's see who sent this. This is Brian Hunt. Brian, thank you. Do I think Deonna Purrazzo is feeling buyer's remorse for signing with AEW? Listen, wrestlers in AEW are getting paid more than they are in WWE. And for anyone out there like Meltzer that's going to say, that's not true, they're not getting overpaid, bull fucking shit. If I get paid $1,000 a week and I have to work 7 days to get that 1,000, or if I work 1 day a week and get that $1,000, who actually is getting paid more? So when you look at Deonna Purrazzo and you look at some of the women on that roster especially, and they wrestle 6 times a year, not saying that she only wrestles 6. There are some people that wrestle 6, 7, 8 times a year. And then you look at someone who wrestles 38 times a year, gets paid the exact same amount of money. Why are they getting paid the same amount of money where one person works 38 matches a year and the other one works 7? So Deonna Purrazzo, listen, everything that was built in TNA has gone out the window. I am a huge fan of Deonna Purrazzo. I think she looks beautiful. I feel bad when she gets shamed. She's a little thicker. It's fine. But the thing with Deonna Purrazzo is this, and I'm just saying this, utmost sincerity intended. When Tessa Blanchard left TNA, Impact Wrestling, that left a gigantic void in Impact Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo got released from NXT. Impact Wrestling brought in Deonna Purrazzo, and they were hell-bent on Deonna Purrazzo replacing Tessa Blanchard. Whether people want to admit that or not, whether people like that or not, that is the fucking truth. And not only did she work hard and was ready for the challenge, she had a chip on her shoulder from being released from WWE. So you take Impact wanting to get people to forget about Tessa as quickly as possible and see Deonna Purrazzo as that next big women's star and more. And then you got Deonna Purrazzo, who's a little angry at leaving WWE. She ended up being not only Women's Wrestler of the Year, I think she was the Wrestler of the Year for Impact Wrestling her first year. She cleaned up with awards. Now, Deonna, with all due respect, when I see you in AEW, you know what comes to mind? You and Taya Valkyrie wearing warm, beautiful clothes in the springtime in areas that are 70 degrees out. And you look like you're going out for a night on the town. Nothing negative about that, but they're like dressed to kill. And they walk around and make all these threats. We're going to do this. We're going to take over this. We're going to take over that. And she gets a couple of token wins. And then she'll face a Mercedes Moné and lose. Or she'll face a Tony Storm and lose. Or face someone else and lose. And then it's the same fucking pattern again. It's just like Powerhouse Hobbs. It's just like Lance Archer. It's just like Brian Cage. And I could go on and on and on. That's what they have done with Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo, and AEW is very, very cautious and observant of social media. When they see a little bit extra negative, like, what are they doing with Deonna Purrazzo? Oh my God, they're just jobbing around. Then all of a sudden, oh, look on Collision, Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie have something to say. And then all of a sudden, the tough bitches are back. And when they're done from going out on a night on the town, they're going to kick somebody's ass. And it quiets some of the buzz, and you get the same fucking cycle. That's basically what they're doing with Deonna Purrazzo. So, no, I don't think she's getting buyer's remorse because she's getting paid very, very well. And she doesn't have to work as hard as she did in Impact Wrestling and in WWE if she was still in WWE. So, all right. DeMarcus, thank you, DeMarcus. He was surprisingly invested in Naomi's promo on SmackDown. It was raw and well acted. He's calling the Meta Girls running in to jump Jade after she wins. If I'm Naomi and I'm the Meta Girls, I don't wait for Jade Cargill to win. I beat the living shit out of her. Early on, even if it's a DQ finish, I would not wait until a victory. I hate when shit like that happens. I hate when someone's getting destroyed, almost. Here, you could even look at like Adam Copeland. Not necessarily in the street fight, but why did FTR and everybody else wait until the street fight was over to start getting involved in the match? It was a street fight, no disqualification. How come Adam Copeland and all his buddies didn't come out early on and fucking destroyed Moxley? How come fucking Willow and others didn't come out there and just start taking care of business right off the bat? Why does everybody act like they were outside in the sausage truck for 3/4 of an hour? Oh, shit, he's in the ring? Oh, fuck, I got to get out there. I hate when shit like that happens. If I'm going to have the Meta Girls destroy Jade Cargill, I don't wait until after Naomi gets defeated by Jade. I fucking have them come out early and fucking beat the piss out of her. That's what I would do. And Jade Cargill, somebody told me the other day that Liv Morgan pinning Jade Cargill is Jade Cargill's first pin. Her first pinned loss in WWE. I haven't had time to research that, but I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Maybe on some non-title tag matches, there might have been some interference somewhere and she got pinned, but I really can't remember Jade being pinned. That could be true. It might not be true. OTS Tribal Queen says that Jade, thank you very much for that, DeMarcus. She says Jade already destroyed Naomi twice. How am I supposed to take her seriously? It's bad enough she had a previous gimmick. Well, that's why. Jade beat the shit out of Naomi twice already. Now it's time for Naomi to get a little one-ups on Jade. So remember what I said. Why the footage should never come out. Unless the Meta Girls attack Jade also. And even that, I know I'm getting a little bit too technical here, but this is like a little tribute. Shout out to Kevin Owens. When Kevin Owens went out of his way and said, you insult fans' intelligence by not thinking that they see things, and remember things. I've said this for weeks. That footage of Jade Cargill being attacked should never come out. Even in storyline. You know why it should never come out? Because if I get attacked right now, unless I am unconscious after shot number 1, you mean to tell me I don't turn around and be like, ooh, What the, like, how does Jade Cargill get beat up so bad and then laid out perfectly on the hood of a car through the glass and she didn't see who attacked her? What? How did that happen? Like, if you picked up Jade to drop her on the windshield, you can't do it from behind, because unless you're doing a back suplex, how do you get behind Jade Cargill when she's leaning against the car? You understand what I'm saying? Like, Jade would have had to have seen her attack her. If you make her unconscious, you put a rag with some chemicals on her face and she gets knocked out quick. That's different, but they're not going to do that on TV. If you think of storyline, it looks ridiculous to show us footage that Naomi laid out Jade Cargill. You want to have the impression that it takes 2 women, 3 women to take out Jade. So we can't physically see Naomi take out Jade Cargill like that on the car. It would look goofy. Because you watch the attack, even if they show it on the opposite side of the parking lot, the first thing you say to yourself was, how did Jade not turn around and see that it was Naomi? You don't grab the fucking hair. Ooh, I know that hair. I know the hair. You're like, it's stupid. And the idea of the meta girls coming out is to show that it takes 2, 3 women to lay out Jade Cargill. I think that's why they realized after Jade got the storyline where she was laid out in a car, I think WWE Creative thought about it and like, you can't show this footage. Like, how is she not going to know that Naomi attacked her? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you really think about it, that footage should never, ever come out. Even if they recorded it, even if they did 10 takes. So I like the idea of the meta girls destroying Jade Cargill. I love it. Yeah, that's true. Roderick Howard says, Jade and Bianca, how did they not communicate for 3 or 4 months? I know. It's just, like I said, the idea was a good one, but they really didn't think it through. And for those out there that are so invested in Triple H replacing Vince in creative, they will intentionally ignore little tidbits like that because it shows even the almighty Triple H can really come up with some awful, not thought out creative ideas. That's where wrestlers come in. That's why Kevin Owens is so incensed on following through on things and bringing up things from yesteryear, from the past. That's the wrestler's responsibility also to say, well, we got to bring up this. Let's not forget about this. Don't forget about this. So it was a good idea on paper, but once you started going down that rabbit hole, then it's like, oh, how do we explain Jade and Bianca not talking? How does you know what I mean? Like, so WWE never thought about that. Or if I could say this without sounding like a dick, Bianca didn't care about that deep. Bianca's like, I don't need to go that deep in a storyline. So it's WWE Creative's fault. So Roof Hearted asks, should the Hart Austin WrestleMania match been the first one inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame? I don't have any issue with that. I mean, they could have easily gone with something else. Like I said, Hogan Sheik probably could have easily been. Listen, if Hogan would have been received a little bit differently, Hogan Sheik probably would have been the first one. But it makes sense, and I brought this up in the news update earlier. It makes sense because WWE's doing some promotional thing where people spending like $8-9 grand get to meet Steve Austin and Bret Hart. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand why Bret Hart was heavily featured on some of these WrestleMania packages. And that's an interesting name to choose out of everybody from yesteryear. Like, as much as we're Bret Hart fans, I don't know anybody really that would spend $9 grand to go to a skybox and say, yeah, I get to hang out and meet Bret Hart. That's an interesting choice of all the people from yesteryear. So the fact that they're celebrating Austin and Bret Hart for WrestleMania, I like it. I don't have any issue with that. Roddy with a follow-up. Who's the worst friend? Bianca for not constantly checking in on Jade, or Jade allowing Bianca to team with the woman who attacked her with no warning? Well, remember, we don't know exactly when Jade Cargill found this out. So I can't blame either, because this is WWE Creative's fault. Because somebody, listen, I remember when we were feuding with Dixie Carter in TNA. And I remember what, like, Kevin and I's biggest argument was against TNA and Dixie Carter. Like, when we criticized a lot of the product, and at that time, you know, anything we said was getting magnified online. But one thing we said was, like, because somebody, I think, had said to me at that time, would I work for TNA if I had the opportunity? I said I would, on the one condition: I want to be devil's advocate. See, like, Dixie Carter in creative had all of these people, not necessarily Jim Cornette, but had all of these people that would pretty much go along with whatever she wanted to do. Some wrestlers would challenge her, but you didn't have anybody there that was designed to be the devil's advocate. Okay, you think it should go in this direction? I will tell you why it should go in this direction. Or I will tell you the holes that will be developed because of it. And the thing is that you don't have anybody really in WWE Creative when they come up with a scenario and you see all of these holes that develop as a result. You have no one there that is saying, but boss, well, how do we address this? Or what if this, and this is going to lead to this? And it, you know, it doesn't get that deep many times. And, you know, I've said this so many times over the years, you know, say what you want. I absolutely support Triple H, no question. But Triple H worked under Vince McMahon for 25 years. 25 years. And you're not going to say to me that for 25 years, every time Vince came up with an idea, Triple H was there going, you know, like, you're not going to say to me that he didn't, you know, start building that same mindset. I think a lot is similar based on, it's not perfect. All right. Thank you, DeMarcus, for this. We have an Athena question. Love talking about the former Ember Moon. Athena on Collision was super cool, but I have no faith this program does what it easily could. Athena's been doing her best work, but no one watches Ring of Honor. Glad to see that she gets on TV. You know, I'm going to say something that's pretty awful. I feel like the only reason why Athena has a championship belt for the length that she did was just to, like, eliminate Asuka's reign and Gunther's reign and have an AEW name recognized as the longest blah, 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 blah in, you know, this generation. I feel that sometimes that's the case because, you know what that says to me? Athena is great. She was great as Ember Moon. She's even better as Athena. But you're not going to say to me that for the last couple of years, Athena best used is the way she was used in Ring of Honor. Athena should have been on fucking Dynamite, should have been on fucking Collision, should have been feuding with Toni Storm, should have been feuding with Serena Deeb, should have been feuding at some point with Mercedes Moné, should have been feuding with whoever you want to put out there, Deonna Purrazzo, Taya Valkyrie. Not, oh, a Ring of Honor match. So I just think, you know, the fact that she has been used the way she's used, I feel at this point, it's to just put a history statistic next to her. And that sucks. That sucks. I mean, I'll still celebrate it. It's still impressive, but you're not going to say to me that Athena, her, you know, like when you sign someone, don't you want to use that person to the best of your ability or utilize someone, you know, the best you can? You hire someone for a job. You know, so you hire someone to clean your office. Don't you want your office clean? Like if you hire someone to sell real estate, don't you want them to sell as many houses as possible? You sign someone and then you put them in mediocrity for 3-4 years. For what? For what? What? You're not getting a TV deal because of her. What are you actually doing? I honestly think she is there to create a statistic. Sad to say it, but that's my honest opinion. Mark Hicks, thank you for being a member of the family for 34 months, my friend. Do I think Vince is proud of the current WWE product? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Without Vince, WWE would not have gotten to this point. Vince McMahon, I think, is absolutely happy for the WWE, but he also, listen, you know what the funny thing is, guys? Company was sold. Vince sold the company. So even though Vince was going to be the chairman and still on the board, he was still no longer owner of the company. So if he truly wanted to keep the company, he didn't have to put it up for sale. I think Vince is very, very happy. I think Vince probably is not thrilled about how much of the outside, buzz that people get. Anybody with a social media influence will get play. You see, the excessive, showing of it's listen, and I'm not even questioning like seeing Netflix stars sitting ringside. Because I remember the early days of the USA Network where Vince would say, coming up next, La Femme Nikita. So they would plug outside stuff, but I think Vince overall is very, very happy. I think Vince probably regrets selling as much stock as he did. The stock is still $150 a share. Didn't he sell like tons of shares for $70 a share? He'd have twice as much money right now. Twice as much. I think Vince is proud. I really do. And you want to know something? Even if this Janelle Grant lawsuit ultimately gets thrown out, social media will make sure that Vince is still guilty till he dies. Sooner or later, I do believe Vince McMahon will be celebrated on WWE television. I truly believe, but obviously this case needs to be cleared also. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not true. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. But the optics of it is that if this lawsuit goes to arbitration and it gets closed out, that takes some of the sting off of what's going on. If they find evidence that Vince did commit criminal acts, even if they can't find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, then he'll be celebrated the day he dies. I hate to say it like that. They'll do a video package, and guess what? I will bet you I will never do another show again. I am so beyond convinced of this. If Vince is never shown on TV ever again until the day he passes, the night that WWE does that tribute to Vince McMahon, almost every fucking person in that building will stand up and clap and thank him for everything he did for wrestling. Like I said, disgusting man. Even if he just found his freak, even if everything was eyes wide shut meets kinky perverted sex, and she was a recipient of it and loved it and he loved it and they did some wild kinky shit, still that is not, behavior that a married 70-something-year-old man should be doing, in my honest opinion. So, trust me, Vince McMahon will be cheered. It will be cheered. A lot of people listen, it ain't just Undertaker and John Cena and Goldberg and others that think, that they're Vince McMahon guys. There are some people that hate him. They could find out that Janelle Grant failed a whole bunch of lie detector tests and they found hidden footage where she schemed to screw Vince. People would still despise Vince. Vince definitely abused his power, no question about it. But at the end of the day, if this case goes to arbitration and ends up closing out, you will have those people, the court of public opinion. I was using that phrase even before WWE Legal was saying it. You'll have the court of public opinion that will still find him guilty. But at the end of the day, they will honor him. Even if it's a 3-minute video package, Vince McMahon will be honored. They will not ignore his death. unless something really, really awful comes out of this case. All right, we're going to start wrapping this up because we're already over 90 minutes. Thank you, DeMarcus, again for the Athena question. Much love. All right. Bill Cosby actually committed crimes. Listen, I don't know what Vince did illegally or not. I think Vince did more illegal by cooking the books and who knows what Rita chatted. I don't know. I really don't know. I do believe Vince McMahon took advantage of her. I think Vince McMahon pressured her. I think Vince McMahon, might have forced himself on her. I don't know. We will, but I do believe, let me put it this way. I believe that more that he did do something than he didn't. With Janelle Grant, though, I don't know. I don't recommend anybody to go on those Pornhub sites, but there are sections on those sites that if you think what Vince did is such unbelievable behavior, there are people that have fetishes about that stuff. It's weird, trust me. Dayak, what's going on, my friend? Thank you for being a channel member for 7 months. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Do I think Brock Lesnar could show up at Mania, be the third man instead of Randy? I think if you're going to bring Brock back, he's got to suplex John Cena. He has to be a babyface if he returns. I do not see Brock Lesnar as the third man. I think it would be a little bit too ridiculous. Brock Lesnar would almost have to be somewhat like a bodyguard to John Cena. I don't want to see that happen. I just don't know if they're going to bring back Brock at WrestleMania 41. If Undertaker does not do anything on camera, I think that definitely could lead to the possibility of Brock returning. The thing is, though, is if Brock F5 Cena and then walks out, like, why doesn't he come back? You know what I mean? Like, and no one's going to take out Brock. So I don't know how you would use Brock, but personally, if Brock were to come back at Mania, he's got to get involved in the main event and he's got to F5 John Cena. I do not want Brock as that third man. I think it should only be Randy Orton. I thought it was a joke when I heard Eric Bischoff say Becky Lynch. And I'm like, just let that sink in. Just pretend like, okay, she's the third person. Now what? Just dumb. I think sometimes people intentionally say really dumb shit because they know it'll garner reaction and everybody will talk about it. I think it's got to be Randy Orton. It's got to be Randy. What do I do with Liv at WrestleMania? That's a good question. That is a very good question. What do you do? Well, they probably have to defend the women's tag titles. I think they're going to do probably a gauntlet match. I think we might see an NXT tag team get involved with that. I think Raquel and Liv probably have to defend the women's tag titles. That's what I would do. And look, you can have, the secret Hervis. That's what they're calling them now. Alba Fire and Piper Niven. No, I think you do a women's tag team, 4-way tag, gauntlet match. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Deuce says, LOL, DT talking about fetishes, but for once not mentioning XPW and working for Rob Black. Well, there were women that worked for him that had weird fetishes as well, but remember, a lot of people on Pornhub are just everyday people who are recording themselves. Not everybody is a porn star in Pornhub. Not everybody's getting paid. There are some very, very wild people out there that I don't want to get grotesque here, but like to have people humiliate them. I think that's the best way to put it. And what is strange about it is it comes in all shapes and sizes. If we're really going to go there, I think people would think that, somebody like this, you would probably see like on a Pornhub video, like doing some wild, kinky, crazy shit. But you'll see some outrageously beautiful women. I have seen the strangest of the strange, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. It could be somebody that looks like Miss Elizabeth. And then you look at someone else and it'll look like fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife. It's just, it is what it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah. People are putting up examples. No, but Douche, you're actually right. I mean, you're right. I don't want to bring up the porn aspect of it, but I will say this. Why do you think porn videos have those fetish videos? That's because there's people out there that like that are looking for that. I brought up Snuff, Jerry Tootie, the Wall. Just look at his character in XPW. Why would you have a character like that in XPW? Because, yeah, there's OnlyFans pages that are like that. There's some very, very odd people out there. There is definitely a demand, guys. As crazy as it sounds, there are people out there like Vince McMahon that are into that. And there are people out there like Janelle Grant that are into that. We just don't know how much of that was, kinky sex and how much of it was weird manipulation. I don't know. Listen, Joey Ryan is a great example of that, Kevin. Joey Ryan, not on that level, obviously, but I brought it up 2 weeks ago on the History Show. We're only in the month of March, and we've come across matches where Joey Ryan had Gigi Dolan vomit on his penis. We've had Penelope Ford stick a lollipop up his asshole, for real. We've had someone else put something in his trunks. Like, you realize that a lot of these intergender matches that Joey Ryan was having involved some really creepy, thing sexual-wise. And I think some of that he legitimately got sexually aroused. You look back on it, that guy is definitely someone who had a problem. I don't think he forced himself on anyone, but I think he fucking told a good game. He was a player. He convinced people, the people that were feeling bad, he got them to believe that, hey, I'm in just as bad a situation. Let's console each other. Let's make out. We'll both feel better. And some people fell for it. Tristan wants to know, what did I think of the Austin McMahon bedpan segment? One of the funniest segments ever. Unfortunately, what a lot of people forget about that segment was the birth of Sacco. Everybody forgets about Mr. Sacco's debut prior to that. So definitely, would that be an iconic moment at WrestleMania? I wouldn't say that, but that is definitely a fun moment from yesteryear. Benjamin is asking, why are wrestling fans jumping the gun, saying WWE, Shane, or even Vince buying TNA just because TNA fired those executives? Because they haven't followed it closely. If you look at my news update from Wednesday, I said continuing restructuring. This restructuring has been going on for a year. It's going to go on for more than a year because Anthem is not going to just fill spots to fill spots. They're going to take their time. And when the time feels right and the person feels right for the spot, they put that person in there. I think listen, I don't have any issue with Matt Hardy or anybody else gushing uber love for Gail Kim and shocked that she got let go. But I think some people in TNA got way too fucking comfortable in their jobs. Anthem owes you nothing. And some people, I think, are getting way too comfortable that because they've been there 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, that I'm untouchable, that I can't be replaced. And listen, the wrestling world coming together for Gail Kim is a beautiful thing. It happens when people get released in WWE. Indy Hartwell got released and the wrestling world, just got together and showed her a whole crazy amount of love. Nothing different with Gail Kim, obviously on a different level, but some people in TNA, from the outside looking in, way too comfortable. Way too comfortable. I'm not saying that Gail Kim's release was expected, but if anybody in Impact that is in the wrestling business thinks that their job is secure for life, ooh, you got a rude awakening coming. May not happen right this minute, but it will happen. And I've been covering this for a year. So the people that are blown away by it, that are not in the wrestling business, they're just not paying attention. Anthem has done a lot more restructuring than just TNA. They just haven't paid attention. All right, we'll take 3 or 4 more questions and we'll get a jet. S21, what's up? Do I think AEW made the industry better considering all the tribalism and trolling? Yeah, I do. I really do. AEW over the last 5+ years has given wrestlers another place to work, has given opportunities. Not everything is bad. There's been some awesome moments. They were able to get CM Punk back into wrestling. Somebody asked me the other day, do I think CM Punk would have returned to the WWE if AEW never existed? I would say maybe now, yeah. With Vince out of power and Triple H reaching out to people, I think there is a possibility CM Punk would have returned to wrestling. Maybe not 5 years ago, 3 years ago, but they think there's a chance. But look, AEW's had a lot of good moments. The problem with AEW is one thing. It's what's the end game for AEW. For WWE, it's make the most money, get the most people tuned in, sell the most merch, get the most people to the shows, the highest ratings possible, the biggest buzz, conversation. And everything in AEW is about Tony Khan first and foremost. It's about him first and foremost. And that doesn't mean that Tony Khan does not want the company to succeed. That doesn't mean that Tony Khan doesn't see star power in some people. Make no mistake about it. But, it's nowhere the level of WWE, though. There's a different reason for being involved. And listen, if I was a billionaire and a rabid wrestling fan and I had the free time and lack of wife and kids, that I could start my own wrestling business and buy enough people that I could have a company and get some people in the wrestling business and overpay them to be management and this and that and get on a TV network. If I was that committed to wrestling, yeah, that's my priorities. If people understand AEW's priorities, it makes more sense. It makes more sense. The Death Riders would have never existed this long if this was under the WWE machine, because they would have just looked at it and said, this ain't working. Look at the negative. And it wasn't negative online because they were heels. It was negative that this sucks. Everything about it sucks. And not everybody felt that way, but the majority said it sucks. And they just let it play out anyway because Jon Moxley replaced Bryan Danielson in that stroke of power. Edge, Adam Copeland has replaced Sting as the iconic person who gets to play and gets a little bit extra treatment, love, and respect, but is not somebody in the back making decisions. He's a locker room leader. Some people that want to pick his brain, Adam Copeland is there for them. Adam Copeland has replaced Sting as that iconic person that everybody goes to and gravitates to. Jon Moxley replaced Bryan Danielson with that power. And that's why we get as much as we get. Jon Moxley is fucking uber committed to AEW, and that's why Tony Khan is very loyal to him. Good or bad, it's sickness and in good health till death do them part. Kevin says Tony Khan is worried about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the English football soccer team. He's being spread way too thin. He doesn't have as much power in those companies as here. It's a machine. He's not the coach on the sidelines. He's not the George Steinbrenner in the booth that he's got to make all the signals. He is nowhere near that on-field power You know, he has power, obviously, but he doesn't have that influence. He doesn't dictate who starts the games and this and that. I wouldn't be surprised if they sell the Jaguars in the next couple of years. Kevin thinks that Copeland and Jericho are good for AEW. I agree. Because Adam Copeland, look, obviously he still feels he's got stuff left in the tank. That's why he went to AEW. Everybody thinks that he left WWE to AEW. No, WWE did not want to use Adam Copeland like this. He was not going to get that kind of exposure. So Adam Copeland went to a small pond so he could be somewhat of a bigger fish. Nothing wrong with that. I compared it to baseball players that can no longer cut in Major League Baseball and they go to Japan. And some of them end up having a pretty damn good career in Japan and some people don't. Not JPEG. Probable face and heel turns that might happen before the end of 2025. It's very, very loaded as we're closing this out. But Randy Orton absolutely will turn heel. I think John Cena will turn back the babyface at the end of the year. I think the fans will cheer him. And I think he will be confused. After everything I did this year, you're cheering. I see that coming a mile away. Outside of that, I can't think of anybody else really. Finn Balor, obviously, he's going to get kicked out of Judgment Day. Finn Balor is slowly turning babyface, even though he still does heel tendencies, even though a lot of people want to see Dominic turn babyface. I think it would be a cool curveball to have Dominic turn babyface. Not by choice, but when everybody's convinced that Judgment Day is going to kick Finn Balor out, they kick fucking Dominic out. I think fans would lose their shit. I'm a fan of Dominic's. I think Dominic is, I wouldn't call him the MVP, but Dominic has worked arguably just as hard as the main eventers there for the last year or two. That guy did not have to work NXT as much as he did. And there, I still remember those 2 weeks. Remember, he main evented Raw, NXT, and SmackDown in the same week. 3 shows, he main evented all 3 of those shows. Jacob Fatu, I don't know if he would turn babyface before the end of 2025, but that's a possibility. You know, I think you got to look at the overall rosters and, you know, look, even though they did the transfer window, are they still going to do a draft this year? Don't know. But if the rosters stay the way that they are, I don't know if I would turn Jacob Fatu babyface. You know, like you start thinking about the heels on SmackDown, it's very, very lopsided. I don't know if that would work, but all right. Who's going to get the last question for tonight? We're going to finish right around 2 hours. I won't put this as the last, but I will say this. Edge is not ruining his legacy by having these matches. His career is far too long and has done far too much to have him close out, you know, a little bit like he is. He doesn't look like Ric Flair's retirement match. He could still go. No, he's not ruining his legacy. You know, he's doing, you know, some matches that I'm not thrilled about. But in hindsight, look at Sting. You know, look at some of Sting's matches in AEW. Video game type, very lopsided, you know, taking no bumps. If he wants to dive off a table because it's on his bucket list, if he wants to dive off the top of a building because it's on his bucket list, Sting got to do whatever he wanted. Didn't hurt his legacy at all. Didn't tarnish it at all. So we'll close it out on who do I think is ready for a call-up after Mania? Cora Jade, I think, is ready for a call-up. Roxanne Perez is already called up. Interesting that Ethan Page is going to fight Joe Hendry for the TNA title. Very, very interesting that they're going that route. I think Ethan Page arguably should go to the main roster. Many people think Trick Williams is ready. I will say this, you cannot have too many people brought to the main roster in one spurt, unless you're going to release other people. There's just not enough spots. We've gotten lucky that 3 weeks in a row, Braun Breaker is wrestling on Raw. But you know why Braun Breaker is wrestling 3 straight weeks on Raw? Because if you haven't noticed, CM Punk is not wrestling. Seth Rollins is not wrestling. Roman Reigns is not wrestling. John Cena is not wrestling. Cody Rhodes, sometimes after Raw goes off the air or SmackDown goes off the air. I mean, he wrestles in SmackDown too, but my point is, you take a step back, you're kind of surprised at how many people are not wrestling. Bianca Belair, if you really think about it, she gets 3-4 weeks at a time where she don't have a match. There's a lot of people who are not wrestling right now. So you're getting some people to fill those voids. But when it comes time that some of these people have to wrestle at least every other week, there's only so many spots to fill. And, Netflix ain't expanding to 3 hours. They stay in that sweet spot, 2 hours, 20 minutes, give or take a little. So, Tyrese is asking, do I still drive the Kia? If so, what do I think my next car will be? I still have my Kia, cannot afford a new car right now. Me and my wife rented an Audi. Was it an Audi or an Infinity? I don't remember. I think it might have been an Infinity. No, it was an Infinity. We rented an Infinity when we went to Marco Island 2 years ago. Wow, it's been that long. And we loved the car. It was amazing. It was a Q something. I don't remember which one it was, but I never drove a car before that had those like sensors that, you go to turn into a lane and there's a car coming and the car's like, I don't think so. And it just keeps in the lane. I parking assist, hit the button, the fucking car parks for me. Car smooth ride, but I cannot afford, if I get a new vehicle, it ain't going to be for another 2 years. Got too many bills to pay. It's bad enough in a matter of short time. I had to replace my washer, my dryer, my toilet, my dishwasher. And I know there's something else that I replaced. I can't remember what it is, but all in short order because they all went. So I kind of like Raw at this point. 2 hours, 20 minutes. Very manageable. This Monday will be the last Monday that Raw will be airing on the afternoon. But I've kind of enjoyed this little break the last 3 weeks. Get my notes together. Raw ends. Don't have to race into this room to start the DTKC show. We kind of chill a little bit. Get my work ready for the next day. Check out some news. Go over some topics of discussion. And then we casually show up and we do the show. So Monday night, Kevin and I will be live at 10. So, and I'll go off the air with this. WrestleMania is not too expensive. It's not overpriced. I get Bischoff and that guy that does the shows with Dutch Mantel and everybody else with these thumbnails. WWE too expensive. Shut up. Super Bowl, World Series, fucking, I almost said Twana Smith, Shania Twain, whatever the fuck her name is. People are paying this money because it commands it right now. You could go to WrestleMania for $275. People want to spend 10 G's to go to an event. Good for fucking them. You know when those ticket prices go down? When they have the ticket prices this high and they only sell 20,000 tickets in a 50,000 seat building. See All In Wembley 2 years ago. If WWE could sell tickets for $5,000, guess what? They'll put it for $6,000. If they could sell the tickets for $6,000, guess what? They put it at $7,000. When the packages for Hulk Hogan were being sold for $9,000 and they weren't selling, guess what? They went down to $6,500. The fans' spending is what's dictating these prices. It's just that you think it's too much money. You think I would never pay that kind of money. I agree with you. I would never pay that kind of money to go to a WrestleMania unless I was getting blown. unless I was getting fucking free hotel, free plane, free this, free food for the whole fucking week, you know, get appearances, autographs, signed, unless I was getting some crazy shit in return. And even that, I wouldn't spend that kind of money. I'd buy a car. But guess what? There are people spending this money. When you see these families of 4 spending 20 G's for something like this, if they come home happy, they feel it's well spent. Disney. I went to Disney 3 years ago, and now the prices are like double. And people are paying $1,000 a day for a family of 4 to go to Disneyland. You go there for a fucking week, you're spending $7,000 to $10,000. If that creates a lifelong memory, and that's something that you will cherish for the rest of your life, that to you is money well spent. Me, Bischoff, you, anybody out there can voice an opinion, absolutely. But when you see them selling out, you see those buildings packed as way as they are, and you hear how much money's being made, you can bitch and moan, but this is a business. It's a publicly traded company. Imagine going to your investors and you sell out the building in 5 minutes and you find out the ticket prices were only $40. The investors would come back and say, if you're selling that much command, why aren't you selling the tickets for $100? So, you know, again, people say these things to trigger your emotion instead of understanding what big business is. See, like Eric Bischoff with Goldberg versus Hulk Hogan. Did you ever find out how much the tickets were at the Georgia Dome that night? Go look it up. Go see how much the tickets were. They were dirt cheap because they were more concerned about selling out that building and getting as many asses in the seats, and deservingly so, was in a very short amount of time. But do you want to sell out a building, or do you want to make money also? I'm not saying that WCW didn't want to make money, but what I'm saying is that WWE is very, very smart. They see what the prices are commanding, and that's what they're basing it on. WWE would be stupid to sell out that kind of revenue and drop their ticket prices. Why? Because it makes us feel better. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday night. Once again, you know what? I might regret this because it may fry my audio. If it does, I say good night now. I'm going to go on my Twitter live, and I'm going to see if Kev left me a message about next week. And did he? No, he did not. Okay, so Kev's been out for the whole day. So by tomorrow night, I will definitely let everybody know if Kev will be with me next Sunday or if we do it April 13th. Just stay tuned to the channel. If you're a subscriber, you'll get notified. So this is not a plug to get everybody to subscribe, but subscribe. You'll be notified. I'll put a little comment in the community section, let everybody know exactly what the plan is for next Sunday and the Sunday after. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy Raw tomorrow night if you get to watch it. And, you know, if you have any thoughts on what I said about Linda earlier, you know, definitely speak them. I'm sorry if I upset anybody. Again, I don't like to make fun of anybody who's crying, but this is someone who set herself in a position where if I'm her family, I don't want nothing to do with her. And now she's lonely and now she's depressed, and, you know, feel bad for her, but go play with your birds. You know, I heard birds chirping in the background. It's just weird at the beginning. You know, she wants to reveal to us that Hulk is a sex addict and is this and that. You wrote a fucking book. We don't need to hear it again. She says, oh, Brooke had a fight with Hulk Hogan. I haven't talked to her in 7 years. You know, and then she opens up the show, opens up this diatribe that she's alone and she's upset. And at the end of it, the two men, she's like, I'm glad I'm alone. I would never want to be married ever again. She wants the family to get back together. For what? A season reunion? For TMZ to cover the reunion? The Hogans are back together? If I'm Sky, I fucking bribe my husband. Hulk, you are not talking to that crazy bitch. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. Where is Me outro. Me outro is here. Be well, everybody. Catch you on the next one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.